You did not land here by accident. Long before your thoughts caught up with it, something quiet and instinctive inside you paused. Your eyes slowed down. The steady hum of everything around you softened for just a brief moment. And in that stillness, something shifted in a way you could feel but not immediately explain. That pause was not a distraction pulling you away from your day. It was a signal from the part of you that notices things before your conscious mind can attach words to them. It recognized that what was in front of you was meant specifically for you, not for someone nearby, not in a general or vague way, but for you personally, right here, at this exact point in your life. Something is beginning to stir inside you, even if the language for it has not yet fully formed. A season you have been living through for some time is quietly drawing to its close, and another one is gently preparing to open in its place. The first real sign of that opening is simply the fact that you are here right now, reading these words, feeling something you cannot entirely explain, but also cannot honestly dismiss or push aside. There is a reason your attention settled at this particular moment and not at some other. There is a reason these words found you today when your heart was ready to receive them rather than on a day when they would have passed right through you without leaving a mark. What is moving toward you carries warmth and a steadiness you have not always been given freely. It carries a kind of clarity that does not confuse or overwhelm you, but instead settles something that has been quietly restless inside you for longer than you may have fully recognized or allowed yourself to admit until this very moment. This moment was not assembled through coincidence or random timing. Long before today, before you opened your eyes this morning, before any part of this entered your awareness at all, this moment was already being shaped. Something that operates beyond what your eyes can see or your mind can measure was arranging the pieces carefully and without rushing toward any particular outcome. And now you are sitting inside that arrangement, taking in words that were meant to reach you at exactly this stage of your journey and not a moment before it. What is unfolding right now has the real ability to gently shift how you understand your own heart and what it has been quietly holding. It can change how you see what lies ahead of you and how freely you allow yourself to move towards something genuine when it finally steps clearly into your life. Even as you read, something is taking form quietly in the background of your days, in a space that logic alone cannot fully access, and yet the deeper part of you already recognizes it as something familiar, something that feels less like brand new information and more like a truth you have always sensed, but never quite allowed yourself to fully hold and trust. Love is on its way to you. Not the ordinary kind, and not the version that may have left its quiet damage behind before. Not the kind that created more questions than it ever answered. The one that had you wondering whether you were somehow too much in certain moments while feeling entirely unseen in others. Not the kind that replaced genuine safety with a low and persistent tension you learned to live inside without questioning it. What is coming is something unmistakably different. Something that will feel the way returning home feels after being away far longer than you ever intended. Every quiet moment of sadness you carried alone, every night when you held yourself together simply to make it to the next morning, every smile you offered freely to the world while something heavier moved just beneath the surface of it, all of that was seen. None of it dissolved into silence or passed without being recognized by something larger than the noise of daily life. The love that is now drawing closer to you is, in a very real and meaningful way, a direct response to all of that quiet endurance you have shown across every difficult season. It is arriving because you held on when holding on was genuinely difficult. Because you kept showing up even when no one was watching or acknowledging the effort it truly took. Because some steady and unshakable part of you never entirely let go of the belief that something real was still possible, even during the stretches of time when everything around you seemed to argue otherwise. This love will come from someone you may not have anticipated, someone younger, someone whose heart holds genuine and honest intentions, and whose arrival in your life was written long before either of you became aware of the other. You may sit with some doubt when you consider this. You may wonder whether these words are truly meant for you, or whether they were written for someone else in a completely different set of circumstances. But hear this clearly and without reservation. This message was shaped for you. It was meant to find you at this precise stage of your journey. The silent struggles you have carried did not go unnoticed. The times you sat alone with feelings too heavy to speak aloud. The mornings you gathered your strength just to walk through another ordinary day. The effort you gave freely even when it went unacknowledged, all of it has been fully and completely recognized. Your waiting is not without an end. The love you have quietly held space for somewhere inside yourself is not a fantasy belonging only to other people living other kinds of lives. It is real and it exists, and it is closer to you right now than it has ever been before. This younger person will enter your life and love you in ways that quietly reach the places you long ago stopped expecting anyone to find, or even try to find. They will look at you without looking away from the parts you worked hard to keep out of sight. They will notice what you carry and they will not step back from it. They will stand in the full and honest picture of who you are, your past, your wounds, your complexity, your unfinished edges, and they will choose to stay without hesitation. Perhaps you have carried quiet doubts about whether a connection across an age gap was something genuinely meant for you, or simply something that happened to other people. Perhaps voices around you built up an expectation that love must present itself in a particular and recognizable form to be considered worth having. But what is truly meant for you does not travel according to fear or the accumulated weight of outside expectations. It moves according to alignment, purpose, and a timing that belongs entirely to the two of you and to no one else. When two people are genuinely meant to find each other, the gap others try to point to loses its power to define anything meaningful. What holds a bond together is not matching numbers or meeting a conventional standard. It is shared respect, honest growth, and a depth of connection that cannot be measured or judged from any outside position. This person has been prepared through their own hard seasons, their own private doubts, and their own quiet questions about whether something real and lasting was truly still available to them in this life. Something important needs to be fully understood about the love that is making its way toward you. This person is not arriving to complete something missing inside you or to fill a hollow space that difficult times carved out. You are not incomplete. You are not a version of yourself that still requires someone else to come along and finish what is unfinished in you. You are whole and you are worthy, entirely and without condition, exactly as you stand in this present moment. This love is not approaching because something in you is broken and in need of repair. It is approaching because you are ready, because you have done the quiet and unglamorous work of continuing to show up for your own life through every season that tested you, and because something real is now prepared to meet that dedication honestly. For a long time, you may have reached outward for a sense of your own worth, searching for it in the responses of people who were simply not capable of reflecting it back accurately. You may have accepted things that fell short of what you deserved because the full weight of your own value had not yet settled clearly inside you. You may have stayed in places that quietly diminished you because the hope of finally being seen kept you rooted even when your deeper instincts were pointing toward the door. That chapter is now drawing to its close. What is opening in its place is built on a completely different foundation, one made from genuine care. emotional honesty, and a mutual recognition that requires no convincing or performance on either side. The person who is coming will not need to be persuaded to show up for you. They simply will, consistently and without drama, because that is simply the kind of person they are and the kind of love they carry. You may naturally find yourself wondering when this person will arrive, or how you will recognize them when they finally do. That curiosity is completely understandable, and it is not meant to pull you into restlessness or a low and persistent anxiety about when and how things will unfold. It is meant to gently open a space inside you that is prepared to receive rather than guard against what is already on its way. This person may already exist somewhere near the quiet edges of your life, easy to overlook in the familiar and ordinary rhythm of your days. Or they may still be moving steadily toward you, closing a distance you cannot yet feel or measure with any certainty. Either way, when they step into your life in the way they are truly meant to, you will not find yourself surrounded by confusion or that familiar unsettled intensity you may have come to associate with uncertain beginnings. You will feel something much closer to peace, a sense of knowing that sits calmly inside your chest rather than buzzing restlessly through it. A recognition that feels less like encountering something entirely new and more like finally putting a name to something you have always quietly carried without knowing what to call it. Trust that the timing of all of this is not careless or accidental. Trust that what is meant for you will find you when you are genuinely ready to receive it without old patterns steering you away from it before it can fully arrive. Stay open. Stay patient with yourself and with the process unfolding around you. What is on its way is not coming to unsettle the life you have built, or to ask you to become someone other than who you already are. It is coming to walk beside all of that and to grow forward with you into whatever comes next in a way that feels steady, honest, and completely right. This connection will bring something into your life that reaches well beyond what any simple description of romance can hold. This younger person will carry with them a perspective that gently reawakens parts of you that grew quiet as the years and their demands gradually took over. They will call back to the surface a sense of joy you once felt more freely and naturally, before the weight of obligation and accumulated expectations settled in and made lightness feel like something you had to earn rather than something you were simply allowed to have. Through their presence, they will remind you of dreams you carefully set aside when life required practicality, and you answered that call with the quiet reliability you have always offered the people around you. Ordinary moments will begin to carry a different and more meaningful quality through their eyes, and you will find yourself noticing things you had gradually stopped seeing in the business of your daily life. You will feel something returning in you, a belief in possibilities you had quietly written off as belonging to a version of yourself that existed before things became complicated. And what you bring to them is equally significant and real. Everything you have lived through becomes a genuine and irreplaceable gift. Your depth, the understanding you earned through difficult years, the patience that only real experience teaches, the capacity to sit with complexity without running from it. These are things they simply cannot yet have. You carry a kind of knowing that only comes with time and with honest living, and they will value it in ways that quietly and genuinely surprise you. Together, what the two of you build will be something neither could have created working separately or alone, something that draws from both of your journeys and grows from the place where those journeys finally and naturally meet. Many of you have come out of relationships that cost far more than they ever returned. You gave your openness honestly and received inconsistency in place of it. You extended your trust and watched it be handled without the care it deserved. You stayed longer than was comfortable in situations where you were looked past, not because you lacked the awareness to see what was happening, but because you were loving with your whole self and still holding quietly to the hope that the other person would eventually find their way to meeting you at that same depth. What those experiences left inside you did not arrive all at once. It was not a single moment where everything shifted and you suddenly became guarded, careful, or distant. It happened gradually, in quiet layers, in small realizations that stacked on top of one another until they formed something that felt like instinct. A hesitation before opening up. A pause before trusting. A subtle but persistent awareness that something you once gave freely had, at some point, been mishandled or misunderstood. You learned to read between the lines because at one time you had taken things at face value and paid the price for it. You became attentive to tone, to timing, to the spaces between words. You noticed when energy shifted, even slightly, because you remembered what it felt like when something important changed without warning. That awareness became part of you, not as a flaw, but as a form of intelligence shaped by experience. And yet, along with that awareness, something else formed as well. A quiet distance. Not one you consciously chose, but one that made itself at home in your way of being. It showed up in the way you held back just a little, even when you wanted to lean in fully. It appeared in the moments when you stopped yourself from saying something honest, because a part of you wondered how it would be received. It lived in the space between what you felt and what you allowed yourself to express. This distance was never about coldness. It was never about a lack of care or a refusal to connect. It was about preservation, about making sure that you did not have to go through the same kind of pain again in the same unguarded way. It was about giving yourself the time and space to understand what had happened, to process it, and to slowly rebuild a sense of stability within yourself. There is a certain kind of strength in that, the kind that is not loud or visible to others, but deeply present within you. The strength it takes to continue showing up in your life after you have been hurt. The strength it takes to remain open enough to still want connection, even after experiencing what it feels like when connection breaks or shifts in ways you did not expect. But strength, when it is built in response to pain, can sometimes come with a cost. It can create structures that protect you, but also limit you. It can form habits that keep you safe, but also keep you from fully experiencing what is possible for you now, in a different moment, with different people, under different circumstances. That is where you find yourself now, not at the beginning, where everything is uncertain and unformed, and not in the middle of the pain, where everything feels overwhelming and difficult to navigate, but in a space that comes after, a space where you have already done a significant amount of healing, even if you do not always recognize it. A space where the question is no longer how to survive what happened, but how to move forward in a way that feels aligned with who you are becoming. And what you are being reminded of now is not something forceful or urgent. It is not a demand that you suddenly drop all your defenses and become completely open overnight. It is something much gentler than that. A quiet invitation, a recognition that the walls you built served their purpose, and that you now have the ability to decide at your own pace how and when to let them soften. Softening does not mean losing yourself. It does not mean ignoring what you have learned or pretending that your past experiences did not matter. It means integrating those experiences in a way that allows you to move forward without being defined by them. It means allowing yourself to feel safe, not because nothing could ever go wrong again, but because you trust yourself to handle whatever comes with a deeper sense of awareness and resilience. There is a difference between being guarded and being grounded. Guardedness comes from fear, from the anticipation of pain, from the desire to avoid what has hurt you before. Groundedness, on the other hand, comes from stability within yourself. It allows you to be open without being unprotected, to be vulnerable without losing your sense of self, to connect without abandoning your own needs and boundaries. The person who is coming toward you will not require you to abandon that groundedness. They will not ask you to prove your openness by disregarding your own comfort or intuition. Instead, they will meet you where you are. They will recognize the care with which you move, the thoughtfulness behind your words, the depth behind your presence. There will be something noticeably different in the way they interact with you. Not in grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but in consistency, in the way their actions align with what they say, in the way their presence feels steady rather than unpredictable, in the way you do not find yourself constantly trying to interpret what they mean or where you stand. Clarity will replace confusion, not because everything will be perfectly defined at every moment, but because there will be a sense of honesty that runs through your interactions. You will not feel the need to second-guess their intentions or question their consistency. There will be a natural flow to the connection, one that does not require constant effort to maintain or understand. And perhaps most importantly, you will notice how you feel within yourself around them, not anxious or uncertain, not tense or overly cautious, but at ease. A kind of ease that may feel unfamiliar at first, simply because it has been a while since you experienced connection without underlying tension. That ease is something you can trust, not blindly but attentively. It is a signal, not that everything is guaranteed, but that you are in a different kind of dynamic. One where your openness is not something that will be taken lightly or used carelessly, but something that will be respected and reciprocated. It is important to understand that this shift does not erase your past. It does not make what you went through irrelevant or insignificant. Those experiences are part of your story, and they have shaped you in meaningful ways. They have given you insight, depth, and a level of emotional awareness that cannot be developed without lived experience. But they do not have to dictate your future. They do not have to determine how every new connection unfolds or how every new person is perceived. You have the ability to differentiate between what was and what is, to recognize when something is genuinely different rather than assuming it will follow the same pattern as before. This requires a certain level of presence, a willingness to engage with what is actually happening rather than what you fear might happen based on the past. It requires you to stay connected to yourself, to your intuition, to the signals you are receiving in real time. And it requires patience, not just with others, but with yourself. There may be moments where old habits resurface, where you feel the urge to pull back or protect yourself in ways that are no longer necessary. That is not a failure. It is part of the process. It is your mind and body doing what they have learned to do in order to keep you safe. In those moments, you do not need to force yourself to act differently. You simply need to notice what is happening, to acknowledge it, and to gently remind yourself that you are in a new situation, that you have more information now, more awareness, more capacity to navigate things differently. Over time, those old responses will begin to shift, not because you are trying to eliminate them, but because you are giving yourself new experiences that allow your system to recalibrate. Experiences where openness does not lead to harm, where vulnerability is met with care, where connection feels stable rather than uncertain. This is how trust is rebuilt, not through a single decision, but through a series of consistent positive experiences that gradually reshape your expectations and responses. As this unfolds, you may also notice changes within yourself that extend beyond your interactions with this person. A sense of lightness that returns in unexpected moments. A willingness to engage more fully with your life, with your interests, with the people around you. A feeling that you are no longer carrying the same weight you once did. This is not because everything has suddenly become perfect, but because something within you is loosening. The tightness that once existed as a form of protection is beginning to ease. And in that easing there is space. Space for new experiences, new emotions, new ways of being. Your life, as it stands now, is entirely yours. Not in a superficial sense, but in a deeply personal and meaningful way. The choices you make, the connections you form, the direction you move in, these are all shaped by you, by what feels true to you, by what aligns with your values, your desires, your sense of self. That does not make your choices questionable or your path uncertain. It simply confirms that this particular road is yours and was always meant to be. This relationship will not be without its difficult moments, because nothing real and worth keeping ever is entirely without challenge. But the effort it asks of you will feel like something genuinely worth offering, because it will be building towards something that matters to you at a level that goes deeper than surface comfort or convenience. You will come through the harder chapters feeling steadier and more grounded in yourself, not hollowed out or quietly wondering whether you gave far more than was ever returned. What is approaching you carries real weight and real roots. It will ask honest things of you and offer honest things in return, without performance or hidden conditions. When it arrives fully into your life, you will not need to convince yourself that it is right. The certainty will already be living quietly inside you, asking only that you allow yourself to receive it.